hilarious.
She's waiting for viewers. She's waiting for viewers.
Waiting for viewers. That's right. Wait until we get the maximum number of people on the stream.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you folks are here joining us today. So it's officially April 22nd, 2020. This is our ACT-based self-isolation support number 12. This is the 12th time that we have done this online. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. So welcome back, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Our Jack in the Box has popped up. Olie, welcome back. Yaz. Hello. Hi there, Jack. Xenia is going to be joining us as well. She's just on a walk, which, you know what, Xenia, if you're watching this in post view, I endorse you being out on a walk.
Yeah, you being in nature for sure.
Yeah. Olie, you were giving us a little update about you just before we started, and I was saying no, save this for the live broadcast. I feel like this is what's going on in the world, man?
It's it looks like I've still got symptoms of COVID. I thought so. My original encounter with it was at the tail end of or halfway through March. You know, you just lose track of time completely. And I experienced all the shortness of breath, but nothing that was distressing. Nothing that was distressing. You know, all handled. And I thought I was over it. Went back to work, and it never really. And I was just it's a physical job, and to cut to the chase, I only work part time, so I managed a couple of days' work. And this week on the Monday, I was working with a patient, and I wasn't safe. Patient was wobbly on their feet, and I was actually wobblier on my feet. I was zoning out. I was having to hold on to stuff, and you know, at the time, I still hadn't put two and two together, and the heart rate was going, and I was short of breath from really very limited exertion. I thought, well, this ain't bleeding. This ain't right. So I went home, and I actually thought maybe I'm anemic or something like that, because I'm fucking vegetarian for like decades. But I eat pretty well, obviously not in the restrictions. And coming to the chase today, I actually spoke to someone, a new line manager, and he goes, "You sound like you still got COVID." I'm like, "What, really? This far down the line?" He's like, "Yeah." He said, and this is the point, this is the information. Loads of people who have had these kind of much milder symptoms. I have not had severe symptoms. They've been annoying, but they've not been severe. He said it can drag on for weeks and weeks. Now I'm in the older age range, and so that's about the only thing I've not got going for me. So I hadn't realised that it can drag on for so long. And to finish the story, tomorrow I'm going along and I'll be swabbed again, and it's far too late for anything positive, I don't think, but I feel a lot happier thinking this is probably the explanation for it, because I have felt absolutely rubbish. So that's been my health news.
Thank you for sharing. Where do you think you got infected, if you were suffering with?
Well, London was the epicenter for a long time. I think London has passed its peak. I've got a feeling that in Yaz's neck of the wood, it's probably creeping up.
Okay.
Yaz will probably confirm that or otherwise in a moment. So I was, I live in London, and I did a gig on one particular night right in the middle of London. The next day I went on a course up London on a Sunday, but I was using the public transport. So there were ample opportunities for infection. Even though I live alone, that's where I would have got it, at the gig or at the public transport.
Okay. And one more thing. What about, so you're saying no fever,
No.
that tightness kind of in the throat is also not present for you?
No, I have had that, and it's so there's been no fever. There has been an annoying cough, but it's been annoying, not so the people. It didn't in any way feel life-threatening or anything like that. I've just put a little bracket story in here. On Monday, I spoke to one of my private patients I've been working with for years, and I got through to her, and she's in Newham General Hospital, and she sounded dreadful, and that's how I think of COVID. She sounded.
And what do you mean by dreadful? Like,
she couldn't. So we're talking in sentences. She wasn't able to get. You know, she just said, "Olie, I think I'm dying," and it was just that. Trying to get the words out. And I texted her yesterday, I never got a reply back, but that's, you know, you're in hospital, it's a busy place. So she sounded like she just could not breathe.
Yeah.
We just had a brief phone call and she just sounded like she couldn't breathe. It sounded awful. I have not felt like that at any stage. I've got my old peak flow meter out. I'm blowing 630 on the peak flow meter, which is pretty normal for me. So I've not had any kind of distressing symptoms. You know, I'll do anxiety, but I'll do that quite well. But I know how to stick that in a little box. That's not my problem. I've not had any physical distressing symptoms, other than on the Monday when I was working with a patient and realised I was not physically fit to be working with the patient.
Okay.
And that's when I just thought, right, I'm stopping this now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Tim, it's funny how you just keep on soldiering on and you just go, oh, it'll be all right. And until such point, it's blooming obvious it's not all right.
Yeah. Yeah. I can appreciate that. Keep on soldiering on like it's all right. Yeah, man. Oh, man. Okay, so before we get too deep into this one today, because yesterday we actually missed doing a meditation to start. Olie, do you feel like guiding the meditation today?
Oh yeah, normally I would. I feel haven't quite got my head in that space for it.
No problem.
I'll happily do another one. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Are you folks comfortable with me guiding a meditation?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Are you good with that? Yes.
Yeah, I gave thumbs up.
Right on. All right. So you know the drill. Find yourselves in a comfortable posture. Yeah. And I'd like to invite you, if you're comfortable with it, you may wish to allow your eyes to close. Of course, the invitation here is always to allow your vision to drop, your vision to go out of focus, just whatever works for you. Maybe find a little bit of motion in the body just to find an upright posture. And if you're standing, maybe even just play with the alignment of your shoulders over your hips. Sitting too, that's a helpful invitation. But if you're standing, maybe shifting the weight from your heels to your toes. Yeah. And let's together, all 5 of us, let's take a breath on purpose, breathing in all the way. If you need to cough, let yourself cough. If you need to have an itch, adjust clothing. I'm noticing a little tightness in my shoulders and neck, just bringing a bit of motion into my body. Whatever you need to do to show up to this space that we share together. And notice that if you're watching this live stream, you've purposefully brought yourself here today. Maybe you got a notification that we've started a live broadcast. Maybe this is something you look forward to every day. And if you're here active on the call with us, really connect with, I'm here with other people. There's many other people who are watching this, whether it be live or later on in their day. That we're here together. And be curious about what shows up for you in being here together. Perhaps our definition of together is changing, is fluid. I'm noticing that even though I've been friends with Steve and Yaz for some time, I'm feeling even closer. And that our new friend, Olie, I feel very close to as well. Perhaps you've never even joined us on one of these live calls, but notice if you feel close to any one of us. As over these past 12 sessions, we've been inviting you into our homes, into our personal lives. We've been sharing our stories, our fears, our frustrations, our hopes, our lifestyle hacks during self-isolation. And just allow there to be some time to only do this, to only be in this space with us together. And see if there's any hopes that are showing up for you about our time together. Anything that you long for. Perhaps a personal connection. Perhaps just an opportunity to have some time with other human beings who have a similar interest to you. And know that I'm here with you. So is Steve. So is Olie. So is Yaz. To support one another in being present. And if you're not live on the call, or maybe even you're watching this later on and you're like, oh, well, I've missed out, Tim, because I'm not live with you folks. I can't talk in the super chat that you guys folks like to joke about. Like, that's okay. Your presence and your attention is still important. We honor that. Just as we honor one another's attention. And Steve, Yaz, Olie, myself, I'd like to challenge each and every one of us to really ask yourself, what do you need from this time? From this Wednesday, April 22nd, 2020, if there was something that we could get from one another that could be personally meaningful to each of us, what might that be? Whatever shows up, no matter the answer, breathe it in. Notice it. Bringing some motion into your body, like a wiggle of the fingers, rotation of the wrists. I always love a good shoulder roll, rolling the shoulders up, forward, and down. Moving the head from side to side. And without opening your eyes, without returning to this space, just give yourself a moment to just sit and notice what this space means to you. Really savor these seconds before we get back to thinking and speaking, and just really enjoying that there's a group of people here together with our hearts aligned in the same direction. And when you feel ready, returning to this space, noticing one another, maybe dropping a message in the super chat. Laura Ripley says, I love the support from everyone.
Yeah, that was nice.
What are you noticing, Steve?
I'm having a rough day today. Remember, we've been talking over the past couple of days about sort of like the polarity of emotion. Sometimes, like one day is feeling really, really good, and some days are feeling really, really not so great. Or like I'm going to go out there and I'm going to use the word like shitty. Like some days are just straight up shitty. And today seems to be inside of me, seems to be a shitty kind of day, where there's a lot of reactivity popping up. Like the smallest things seem to be getting on my nerves this morning, especially as far as the kids are concerned. No offense to kids, Miriam, in the background there. It's just like, yeah, it's just internally, I'm just feeling off and reactive. And yeah, so I got to wash dishes this morning, which is always nice because it's one of those things that I don't want to do, but I know that washing dishes is kind of like a therapy for me.
Oh yeah.
Where like I put my headphones on and I'm either like right now I'm listening to for any drummers out there, Zildjian has a really wonderful YouTube channel, and they've got a bunch of live, like a Zildjian Live basically, which is a bunch of really amazing drummers who come and play with the house band, which is a band called Ghost Note, who are a spectacular bunch of musicians. So that was what I did this morning, was just watch Zildjian Live videos while I was washing dishes, and that was a moment of reprieve for me. Of just headphones on, get away from the chaos. But yeah, it's just been an interesting morning of not wanting to feel this way, but feeling this way, and then figuring out ways that I can manage it without it turning into something overly aggressive, like yelling at my kids or smashing dishes on the floor.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
I respect that. Thank you for your honesty and
but the meditation, sorry, I just want to input something out. Thank you. But like one of the things that was popping up in the meditation was like when you said just to recognize that we're together, even though together might not be the same thing that it usually is.
Yeah.
And then my mind goes into, I'm probably not the only parent feeling like this right now. Like that there's probably a bunch of parents and just people in general that are feeling like this. And
yeah.
Other people's suffering is normalizing. It feels good sometimes to know that other people are suffering and then I'm not the only one. Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
You are not the only one. Yeah. Anybody else want to share anything that they're noticing?
She came and sit on my lap, which is super cool.
It's a beautiful sight.
She doesn't usually like hugs and physical contact much, but that's nice. She comes up my lap.
Yeah.
Okay, Bunny?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really glad you're joining us today, Miriam. Yeah. Cool. So I I never have a script in my head, just so you folks know, for these meditations. I always just kind of go with what I'm feeling and with what I'm noticing. Yeah. And so I think, not I think, what am I experiencing? What was I experiencing? I was experiencing a really deep sense of gratitude for each of you, every single one of you, taking the time out of your day to show up here with me. This is a real gift. Yeah. Connection, really, really matters to me. I thrive in a in a team environment. Plays well with others.
What I really like is that we're getting to hang out with people that we wouldn't normally hang out with.
Yeah.
So and that's pretty cool.
Because they're drummers.
Yeah, it's tough hanging out with people that are so awesome, right? It's drummers rule, guitar players drool.
I'm really glad that got a laugh out of you, Steve.
Mariam said drummers are cool, so
they are cool.
Drummers are cool. Drummers are cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
It was one little thought was, or two little thoughts. One, it was lovely actually doing that mindfulness meditation just now, because that's the first time I've done anything like that for a good few days. I've just not felt up to it. So there's that lovely moment where, for me, you switch into a slightly different perspective where you just you get a bit more observery. And it always feels so comfortable. And it was like, oh yeah, I've missed this place. This is quite nice. The other thing was just to say something to Steve. When the lady from whoever it was, the nurse called me back this morning, as soon as she said, actually, Olie, there's a lot, you always didn't call me. Lots of people have been having these symptoms for weeks. And it was like, I'm not the only one. And at that point, you think, I'm not the only one. It just everything felt so much better. So, Steve, yeah, you're not the only one. And my kids are all grown up, so God knows how you guys are doing it. I wouldn't have coped. So, I'm sharing that now.
Yeah.
Are you taking offense for all children at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most children are annoying, really?
Well, yeah, I have to hang around with them all the time at school.
Are you not one of these children?
Yeah.
Even I say, but she said I'm less childish than other children.
Okay.
Plus, other kids don't like books, which is stupid.
Oh, dear. Are we calling other kids?
No, it's just that.
Okay. Yeah. She values reading. So
that's cool.
Other kids that don't value reading, I think she doesn't really have such a great opinion on that.
Yeah. I also value reading. I value reading.
I value reading. I can't sit there and read a full book from cover to cover, but I do value reading.
You value reading.
I'm not really allowed to read much these days, but
yeah, I don't really read fiction. I don't like fiction. Oh,
I'm right there with you, Yaz. I'm not a fiction kind of reader.
Okay,
I like text.
you do.
I like textbooks.
Yeah,
I like textbooks.
It's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
You lot are all sad.
Yeah. Sorry. The kids say that I'm sad, so but I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
I like being a nerd and being a geek. So.
Hey.
Ditto. Yeah, I also like being a nerd.
Yeah, being a nerd is fabulous.
Everyone's kind of a nerd in some way.
I think we're in good company here, folks. I'm pretty sure we're all nerds.
Oh,
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we're all nerds. Yeah.
A safe space for nerds.
I love it. Safe space for nerds. Totally.
Is it geeks or nerds or what's it? Neeks. Have you heard of that one?
No.
It's a mix between a geek and a nerd. Neek.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that right?
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've been called a neek before.
So let's take our conversation a little deeper today. Laura says it could be a new musical group. Rebecca says, I value reading and I appreciate everyone's vulnerability. And Rebecca says, yep, nerd. So Rebecca is also a nerd. So I was thinking something that might be really helpful for us as a group to talk about today. What is everybody doing for self-care? What are you doing to take care of yourselves? I mean, this call is something that I'm doing for self-care.
Ditto.
Yeah, I actually forced myself in the shower today because I was like, okay, I got up later than I wanted to because I was hoping to get up early, go to the shops, and get a few bits and bobs done and have a shower, and then but I didn't get up early, and I was like, I got up later than I wanted. So
hello.
So I didn't feel like getting in the shower, but I was like, I need to sort of like get myself going a bit. So just forcing myself to do those little things. And then I told this one she has to go in the shower as well, because I noticed she was doing some similar stuff as well.
Yeah. Okay. And does that feel like self-care, forcing yourself to get into the shower?
Yeah, because I can just get into doing household chores and stuff and things like that, and just think, I'll have a shower when I've finished all my jobs, and then I'll fall asleep at night, and then I won't have had the shower, and then it just depends on how the next day is going, whether if I have to do something first thing in the morning, and then all the jobs start again. So it's like sometimes I can go for that can go for like 3 days sometimes, where I think, oh yeah, I'll do it after I've done everything, and I'm like, I'll do the cooking, then I have a shower. So but yeah, it's that is self-care for me, just forcing myself to, and then I feel a lot more refreshed and able to focus a bit more once I've got myself sorted out.
Okay, that's great. I've been trying to avoid media and screen time kind of in general. During certain kind of time periods, so that I've been actually finding that's been pretty helpful. Yeah. And playing a lot more guitar. I had my guitar down here the other day. You were on that call, Olie. I mean, not live. You were chatting in the super chat, but yeah.
Yeah. I've not been playing as much as I should, but I've been doing other things. I mean, I've given myself last week's been. I've written off last week. That wasn't good.
Last week you've written off.
Yeah, just because I felt terrible, and I kept falling asleep. It's the fatigue has just been overwhelming. But normally, I like to do like cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah.
I'm not a big guy, but I like to do a little bit of resistance work. I like to do, and I'm really having fun. Like I've got an exercise bike, and I just stick it in front of a YouTube video of either cyclists or trains or old computer games. And I just sort of pedal along to that. I love that.
That's cool.
Yeah, exercise is not a massive part of my life, but it's got to be in my life. I normally have a sort of a sit-down practice. That all went to pot in last week as well. I think the thing I miss most is cooking the food that I like. So I miss fresh food. Everything else seems to be fairly normal. Just reading as well. Make sure I feed my head, with something.
Yeah, right on.
Because that had gone by the wayside, and now that's back in as part of the routine. That's good. But yeah, the guitar. I should be playing more guitar.
Yeah. I've been struggling with the exercise piece because it's been so cold here. We've been getting like snow flurries even today. But I had been getting out every single day on a walk and just forcing myself to do that.
Yeah, I think that's
and usually a couple times a day.
Good.
I have a dog, a big golden retriever who loves just getting outside, and doing her thing. Yeah. And Steve, are you able to play the drums where you're at?
Oh yeah, I got a little kit set up in the basement now. I actually went over to Tim and I have a mutual friend, Ivan. We actually have played in a band together at some point.
And will again. Again.
Yeah, will again. So yeah, I went over to Ivan's house yesterday and picked up my hi-hat stand, which was like sort of the integral piece of my drum set that I was missing. So I went over and he left it out on the front porch for me. And then it was nice because we had a really distant conversation with him and his family through the window.
Very nice.
I got my hi-hat stand the other day, so it's set up so I can go down and bang around. So I'm looking forward to that today. I want to play some drums. But I'm the same as Olie too. I have a spin bike in the basement, and I'm either listening to podcasts, or one of my favorite things to do right now is to kill two birds with one stone. So I'll spin, and then I'll practice rudiments on the handlebars with my drumsticks. So I could do both. So I'm like playing drums and exercising at the same time.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Rebecca's writing in saying self-care.
Yeah, one of the things.
Oh, go ahead, Steve. You go ahead.
I was just saying, like, one of the things that I've been doing. So things that are non-negotiables for me. Sitting practice is one. I won't not sit.
And for people who don't know what sitting practice means, what are you talking about, Steve?
Well, usually I sit more, as far as meditation practice is concerned, I tend to sit more on the Zen side of things. So I sit Zazen on a regular basis. And that was sort of a commitment that I made about 4-ish years ago, to sit every day. That I've had some really beautiful teachers in my life, and they've, like, no matter what's sort of happening, sitting practice is valuable, whether I want to do it or not. And so that's always been a non-negotiable. That's not always, but for the past 4 years, it's been a non-negotiable. And as far as movement is concerned, I'm a movement person. Like, I've been moving, like, I've been in the fitness community ever since I was like 17.
Yeah.
So movement is never a problem for me. But what I've been finding myself doing more lately is practicing less Zazen style meditation and practicing more down regulating stuff, right? Like a lot of chanting lately. I've just been chanting a lot because I feel like that helps me, makes me feel good. Yeah. So tons of chanting lately. But I feel conflicted sometimes because my primary practice is sitting Zazen, and I'm like, oh, should I be sitting Zazen? But right now, the other forms of meditative practice or sitting practice that I know are soothing to me, I think they're much more important right now.
Mm.
It's much more important for me to soothe myself than to focus myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. And just as a heads up, Steve, we could hear you. It was kind of forcing your voice to slow down, and your video's freezing just a little bit. There might not be anything that you can do about that. Good thing we're a very accepting bunch here.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, that's making it worse. So Rebecca says, hanging out with all of you, playing the piano. Awesome. You play piano, Rebecca. That's cool. Going for walks and working on my math homework.
Yeah.
Math homework. Yikes. Hopefully that's something that you enjoy doing. But if not, hey, we support you in getting your math homework done, Rebecca.
Yeah.
And yeah. Laura says, I've been trying keto. Oh, cool. So I've been cooking and trying new recipes. I also have brought out my paints again. Oh, wonderful. Good for you, Laura, doing some painting. Right on. Yeah. I have found it too busy and too cold to be going out and shooting any bird photography. But that is something that I do have planned on the horizon. Is finding myself, I'm going to perch myself in a nice nature location. Yeah. And bring a nice warm jacket and some gloves and just sit down and probably before dawn and try to get some nice bird photos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We have birds in our garden.
That's good.
Rebecca says, I need to take remedial math to finish my bachelor's degree. Well, good luck with that, Rebecca. I've never been a fan of math, so hopefully that goes well. I'm noticing Olie shaking his head.
You're bringing back the horror of when I was doing my masters, of having to grind through the statistics, which
statistics, it's
yeah,
painful.
Ain't that bad.
It was painful. It was really painful.
Yeah.
Ended up doing okay at it as well, which was the strange thing, because it had always been my nemesis in previous experiences. But I had a lovely professor. He was so good, and I got through it. Not, but through it. So that was good.
Yeah.
I'm not a natural mathematician.
Yeah. It's funny. I got a really not good grade in stats. It's by far my lowest grade by a long shot in my undergrad. I needed it to get into my master's program, but I was really relieved that my master's program didn't have me take we had to do a research, like a full year worth of research, but and I did a thesis, but I did qualitative.
That's what I'm doing for my dissertation. I'm doing qualitative because I just can't handle the quant. Even though I got a decent grade last year, my quant, I was like, no, I can't be dealing with that. So I'm doing qualitative. I'm doing FDA, faculty and discourse analysis. So yeah,
big word.
That's brilliant. Totally brilliant.
More up my street than numbers.
Yeah.
I found myself because the original study that I wanted to get. Stop me if I've told this story already, because I just can't remember. I was trying to get a study through basically a clinical trial, and I couldn't get it through the ethics committee in time. Have I told this one? So the professor helped me out. He said, well, I've got this study going. So I ended up working in one of his labs.
Oh, wow.
But it was right in the deep end. So I was working in a psychology lab right in the deep end of statistics, just measuring eye movements and numbers and using hypnosis on students just to.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it was lovely. It's great fun. And I've got a big background in hypnosis anyway. But it was more of just this big mathematical study. For me, it was a big mathematical study.
Yeah.
Because he's also a cognitive psychologist. That was his thing, experimental psychology, not clinical at all. Yeah, baptism of fire.
Experimental psychology, very cool stuff.
That's what I ended up getting my master's in. It wasn't what I wanted to, but that's what. That's how it happened. Yeah.
That's hilarious. So how did you become a physiotherapist from there?
Oh no, the physio must be about 25 years ago. So I've been a physio forever, and I ended up doing the masters, I think vaguely through the ACT. I know what it was. I went along to heard an American professor down at Bournemouth University, a guy called Irving Kirsch, who's done a lot of studies into placebo and into kind of, do antidepressants work, really. That was it. He gave this really fascinating talk. And I ended up, because I'm quite a talkative person, I ended up talking to one of the professors down there, and he's like, I'm running this new master's course, of course, and I'm just a sucker. Like, yeah, that sounds great. And before I knew it, I sort of signed up for it. Not on, it did sound good. It sounded good because he was using hypnosis in a psychological setting. And I thought, that's great. I've never done any academic hypnosis before. Lots of clinical hypnosis, but not academic. So it was fascinating. So it was just like one thing led to another. And before you know it, you're doing a master's.
Cool. Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm pleased it's over.
Yeah. It's funny. I have a definite sense of nostalgia for my time in grad school, but yeah, I'm living the dream, I'm out working, doing my thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so Olie, you're working. I'm working.
When I'm signed off, I'm signed off at the moment with this, but I will be working. Yeah.
Okay. And Yaz, you're still working on your studies.
Yeah, final year undergrad.
Okay. All right. And Steve, you're keeping yourself busy even though you're not really able to work.
Yeah, still teaching some classes on like more of a volunteer basis, just to do something and to stay connected, especially to the De La Soul community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that they updated in Canada, they updated the CERB that, you can still make a certain amount of money. But with your income being reduced, you can still receive the emergency.
Yeah, like below 1,000.
Yeah.
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 I think it's you can earn up to $1,000 and still qualify. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're keeping yourself busy, Steve?
Yeah, as much as, well, yeah, there's always, I don't know, I'm one of those people where when somebody's like, oh, I'm so bored, like there's nothing to do, I'm like, there's always something to do. There's always, like, whether the thing is to play video games or to read a book or to play something, there's always something to do.
I see what you did there.
To do. Yeah. That's like, Ellis just got a new game for the iPad yesterday, which is cool. So we were playing that yesterday, which was a lot of fun. It's called Luminosity.
Luminosity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun little puzzle game.
Okay.
So yeah. So he's getting into playing puzzle. He's getting into doing puzzle work right now, like challenging his brain to solve puzzles. And so he wanted to get it because the graphics on this game are phenomenal. And that's sort of like one of the big selling features of the game is the graphics are really wonderful. And so he downloaded it just by himself. And I was like, oh, I've played this game before. And I said, I'm going to give you a warning. It's going to be, some of the levels are going to be really hard because there's a lot of crazy puzzles in the game. And he's like, oh, I can do it. I want to challenge my brain. Like, okay, yeah, let's challenge your brain. So we were playing yesterday for quite a while, which was good. Yeah, he really is.
You must be very proud of him.
I am. Yeah.
Cool.
Sometimes I want to hold it really tight so I can't move.
So, Steve, do you feel comfortable guiding us through a movement practice for today?
Yeah, I thought what I'd do today, if I was asked to do it, I wanted to do like more of a somatic experiencing kind of thing to finish off with today, if that's cool. So not a ton of movement, not a ton of stretching or anything, but just more of like a really mindful movement practice, if that's cool. Yeah. So then you could be standing, but you could also be seated in a chair, and that would be okay. Mm-hmm. Finding yourself in a position where you could let your arms sort of dangle down at your sides.
Okay. And Steve, I'm going to make you the
soul person.
Yeah. Just so that people can see you a little bit more easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi. And so the invitation at first, if it feels appropriate to close the eyes, to close the eyes. But then again, also that invitation to just keep the gaze soft so that we can start to draw our attention more into what we're feeling. Okay. And at first, that might be sensations of breathing, or whatever sensations are really calling to you in the body, wherever they are. And this next practice is also going to require some self-touch. So at first, just taking the hands together in any way that you want to, whether that's interlacing the fingers or just placing one hand on top of the other, and move them around a little bit. Just move the fingers, move the hands around a little bit. So you're using one hand to touch the other and just to kind of feel it out. Something I like to even say to myself silently is, I have hands. I have hands. Okay? And just not to know that from an intellectual perspective, but to really like, I have hands from an experiential perspective. Okay? And then to feel the wrists for a moment. So take one, sort of feel your wrist. Okay? And then taking the other hand to feel the other wrist. And what I also really like about something like this is when we start to get into the movement practice, that it creates a sense of proprioception, right? Touching the skin allows us to feel a little bit more efficiently. And then travel down to the forearm.
I've got marker all over my hands, I'm just noticing.
Yeah, and then rub the other forearm. And it might be like a massaging type quality, but just more of a feeling, right? And then go elbows, like the pit, and then the bony parts. Okay. And then to move to the upper arms. For the nerdy anatomists out there, the humerus, upper arm bone. I know Olie likes to use as much anatomical terms as I can. Yeah, and then go to the deltoids, the shoulders, like the shoulder muscles. Okay. And then as best as anybody can, and it might not be accessible for everyone, to kind of reach around the back and feel for your shoulder blades, your scapula. Just to get a sense of where your shoulder blades are. And then, yeah, and then if you need to do them separately, then do the other one. It was funny that I was actually watching The Big Bang Theory the other night, and I know that they have a tendency, or had a tendency when they were airing, to put in false information just to see if people would pick it up. And there's an episode where the Amy Farrah Fowler is cueing Sheldon to find a spot on his body, and she says to him, she says, find where the shoulder blade meets the acromion process, which would be right here. And then he's digging around back here. And I'm like, that's totally not where the acromion process is. So now that maybe we can feel our hands, wrists, forearms, elbows, upper arms, shoulders, and scapula a little bit more, the exercise is then to let your arms dangle down at your sides. And then continuously through repetitions, we're going to start to lift the arms forward and up, just as high or with as much range as is available without moving into discomfort, and then bringing them back down. And then we'll do this a bunch more times, just lifting and lowering. And if you wanted to do this with your breathing, you could, let's say, inhale as you reach up and exhale as you come down. And as you do that, again, the invitation maybe to close the eyes. And you're going to keep lifting and lowering your arms, but we're going to be moving our awareness to different parts. And so at first, can you keep your attention primarily on the hands? And notice how the movement happens when you're feeling for your hands. So predominantly I'm feeling my hands, but I'm also feeling the rest of the movement happening at the same time. And then start to transition your attention to your forearms. And notice if the movement begins to change, whether a little bit or a lot, when you're focusing on your forearms as opposed to your hands. And some of you might notice that maybe there's even more range happening, or that the range feels different. And then switch your attention to your upper arms. And as you feel for the upper arms, again, also noticing how the movement changes, if at all. But it's also okay for the movement not to really change. Okay. And then you're going to switch your attention to the shoulder joint. Okay. Again, for the anatomists out there, the glenohumeral joint, where the ball of the humerus attaches into the socket of the glenoid fossa. Good. And then lastly, transition your attention to your shoulder blades to the best of your ability. And notice if by focusing on the shoulder blades, if the movement has changed. Good. And then we'll go just one more time, lifting and lowering. And then as the arms come back down, just taking a moment to notice and to feel. And then to maybe also create a brief comparison and contrast as to, like, if this was the case, where did the movement feel the best? When you were focusing on the hands, the forearms, the humerus, the shoulder joint, the scapula. And just notice if one of those areas really stuck out to you.
Like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really like about that is, like, I notice my experience of that, and with years upon years of feeling my body through movement, I notice that when my attention is in my hands, I get less range, or the range actually feels more difficult. And for me, the closer I get to my shoulder blade, the more range begins to develop, and the smoother it starts to feel. Right? But that's just, like, that's my experience of it. Right?
Steve, I found that absolutely fascinating. The amount of times that in a sitting practice, I'll have just put my attention around my body, and you know, it's never occurred to me to do that while I've been moving. And I was just laughing. It's just like this. How can I have not done this? It was very interesting.
Cool. Yeah.
And also for me, I was noticing a lot just the upper thoracic just moving as I started moving one arm and the other arm individually. Become quite fascinated by it, actually. So that's something I'll be doing again.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. I think movement is really wonderful for a body in general, but I think bringing more attention into just feeling how we move, I think, can be really, really important.
Yeah. Yes, Miriam, anything that you want to add?
I asked Mariam, and I said, where did you notice where did you notice feeling more? And she was like, her forearms, and for me it was my shoulder blades. So just noticing that, like, it's different for everybody, isn't it? Like, you know. Yeah. It's
love it.
out in that. So
very nice practice today, Steve.
Yeah, it is. Nice.
I feel so fortunate to have you guide this for us. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I feel, although I would say before the call happened, I was really trepidatious about coming on. There was a part of me that didn't want to come on because of the way that my morning has gone. And as per usual, I feel much better now.
Oh,
that's good.
Just being with you guys and talking to you guys. Yeah.
That means a lot, man. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
And it means a lot because you mean a lot. You know, you're very special.
Thanks, brother. Thanks. Yeah, you guys too.
Well, for this April 22nd, 2020, this is our 12th broadcast of the ACT-based self-isolation support. Of course, thank you to our friends Laura, Rebecca, for joining us live in the Super Chat. Vicky, wherever you are, hopefully you're doing well there in Montreal. Maybe you're at home today managing the kids. Rebecca says, so glad, Steve. That's nice. Take care of yourselves. We will see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, you guys as well. Take care.
Bye-bye.